This is Lead Professor Q at your service.
Cyber T in the building.
All right. Today we will discuss even more terms everyone who is interested in AI should know. Before we start, family, if you like this podcast and you want to support the channel so Cyber T and I can get more AI content and machine learning content out there too, hey, do us a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. We would really appreciate it. T, anything to add?
No, I think you've provided the people good and accurate information to follow. We just need them to do their part.
Amen. Amen. Now, let's go in on our topic. AI, as you already know, is becoming a bigger part of everyday life. So understanding these key terms can help all of us navigate this wild and crazy world of AI and machine learning more confidently. Now, today is just a continuation of identifying key AI terms. We will give you the meaning, provide you some examples, and basically tell you why it's important that we should know, or at least at a minimum, be familiar with some of these terms. Listen, family, trust us on this. These terms help people understand how AI is shaping daily interactions, medicine, shopping, communications, and so much more. T, anything you want to add?
No, not at this time. I think you're on it this morning, LPQ. Let's keep
It's that
it going.
coffee, brother. It's that coffee, man. I'm gonna hopefully ride this cool.
This is not advertising. Speaking of, right?
Yep.
I got mine. I got mine locked and loaded too, brother.
Hey, you got your fix? All right, let's go ahead and do this. All right. So the number one term that we're going to cover today is large language models. The acronym is LLM. Now, this is a type of artificial intelligence that can understand and generate human language. It's trained on vast amounts of text data, allowing it to learn patterns and relationships in language. T, thoughts on this? Can you provide us some examples for us of large language models?
Yeah, well, I think hopefully, we got people using this stuff today, but just common examples of LLMs would be, your standard things like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Llama, and specifically using it for writing assistance, translation, summarization. Like, I guess when I visited some of these, when I've visited other countries where I didn't necessarily speak the language, you think about things like Google Translate, right? You're talking to it, and then it translates into the English, the language that you need to do. So we've already been using, I think people may not understand, they've been using large language models already. Coding help, chat box, they're all a part of those large language models that, some of us use on a daily basis, and hopefully others will start using. I tell you, at work, when it comes to writing emails, they used to tell you, well, kind of take a step back, think about an email before you send it. Now I can write it, run it through ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever was the two primary tools that I use, and that'll help me with my tone. And then I'm able to shoot it out a little bit more quickly and efficiently. So I know I definitely get daily use and value from these LLMs.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that you said, it's well said, brother. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the why. Listen, why are we talking about this term? Why is it important? Large language models are significant because they are powerful AI systems that can understand generate, and manipulate human language. You know, T, just on the side, I not only do I train people on, just the fundamentals and the essentials of AI, but I also started training some of these large language learning models.
Yeah, I remember you was
Uh,
telling me about that. That's very
yeah,
cool. Very
exactly,
cool.
exactly. And man, that what happens behind the scenes, man, it is crazy, man. It is wild, it's insane. Now, let's talk about this. Large language learning models are used for a wide range of tasks, including text generation, translation, answering questions. Um, they enable machines to understand and generate human language, making AI more accessible. Uh, and it's very versatile. And then this is the reason why when we're dabbling in this AI world, we need to understand, at least have some familiarity with large language learning models, aka LLMs. Any comments, T, before we pivot on to the next topic or term?
No, I think we kind of summarized that great. I think we should pivot.
All right. All right. Now, the number two term that we feel everybody should know or at least be familiar with is what we call reinforcement learning from human feedback. Uh, this is a machine learning technique where human feedback is used to improve the performance of AI models, particularly in tasks like language generation. It involves training a reward model based on human preferences and then using that reward model to guide reinforcement learning process, aligning the AI model's behavior and with human values. Now, T, can you provide some examples of reinforcement learning from human feedback?
I can, but this is where I really started to get cynical about AI. Because you started talking about reward feedback and training it from responses. I'm concerned. We may not see it in our lifetime, but I think this is where we get into that sci-fi stuff of AI taking over the world. But in short term, right? Um, I don't know for whether the examples I gave earlier, ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini. If
Mhm.
you currently use those today, you will see that it has a thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you like it? Would you like something different? That's helping for that reinforcement training to say, okay, yep, this answer was good. This is what the people may want to hear, or no. It could also help. It also helps with tone. So really,
Mhm.
just like anything else, right? You provide your feedback. Yep, I like that, or no. And the one thing, at least I, talk about ChatGPT specific. If I say I dislike it, well, would you like me to try again? And then it'll produce, something new, a little bit different than what I had asked for it before. And then again, do you
Mhm.
like this better? So I think that's pretty cool because it is helping to learn from that reinforcement perspective and helping to understand tone and those things. So, as this gets better over time, when you ask AI something or these large language models something, it's going to give you back better responses that it thinks that we want to hear to understand. And I think there's a lot of value to that. And use cases, right? Content moderation, ethical decision making, and improving chatbot tone. Because that's one thing you hear all these chatbots.
Mm.
AI doesn't have emotion; it's just going to respond based on its training, right? And you do have to help train these models to be tone conscious with humans because we are really sensitive. Some of us are, of course, and so you wanted to provide friendlier responses that the average would be able to accept. So those are probably a couple of use cases and examples, from my opinion, on that reinforcement learning.
Yeah, yeah. Just from my perspective, and we're going to pivot to the why. We need to learn this term or be familiar with this term in a sec. But you know, I we go back to what I do on the side. And I train. some of these models, and basically example of
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
you said it, not me. you know, my example of reinforcement learning from human feedback is just like what you said, training a chatbot to generate better responses, right? By comparing its outputs to those
Mm,
preferred by humans,
yeah.
you and me.
Hmm.
Uh, I've been dabbling in this a lot more of late, and that's just the clearest example that I can give. T, anything else before we pivot to the why we need to know this term?
No, and I appreciate that additional context. I do find it fascinating about all the training that we do and
Ooh,
the necessity of
necessity.
the reinforcement to help
Yes.
with tones. I feel like in the future that's going to be problematic, but we'll have another session on that because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
we it is about training because I think about how they're trying to push AI in the education field and
Hmm.
mandate AI in the classrooms. And so,
Hmm.
you know, there has to be some responsibility somewhere to help train it for tone because, hey, at some point, kids are going to be, well, actually, they're doing it now, right? Interacting more and more. And you don't want AI to be providing inappropriate responses. So
Mm.
it is one of those evil necessities where if you like what it provides you, yeah, you should, click the thumbs up or say yes. If it says no, then tell it why. Like you're
Yeah.
talking to a child. But that's that's just my 2 cents. But
But it's true.
yeah, it is true. But yeah, anyway, yeah. No, I think I'm good. If you got something else, Q. If not,
Yeah.
I think we're ready to pivot.
Now let's go ahead. Well, let's talk about the why.
Oh, okay.
At least we should be know this term or be familiar with this term. So, uh, reinforcement learning from human feedback, or the acronym for this is RLHF. This is important to in development of AI. Especially large language learning models, because it helps to align AI behavior with human values and preferences, basically leading to more helpful, safe, reliable AI systems. Uh, hey, listen, humans rate uh, the quality of different chatbots and their responses. And it's a competitive market out there, brother. So the more human those responses are, the more people may be likely to use some of these models. T, any comments before we pivot to our next term?
No, no. I think we've covered this fairly well. Hopefully, giving people enough information to come to their own conclusions and research further.
All right, excellent. So now let's go on and pivot to the next term that we feel everybody should in these AI streets should know or at least be familiar with, and that is speech recognition. Now, speech recognition AI, also known as automatic speech recognition ASR, is a field of AI that focuses on converting spoken language into text. It involves using algorithms and models, often based on machine learning, to analyze speech signals and basically determine the underlying words and phrases. T went over the definition. What are some of your best examples of speech recognition, these AI streets?
Yeah, I think this is an easy one for most people to understand, right? Siri, right? For our Apple lovers,
Hmm.
me, Google Assistant.
Now playing Lover, Margaret Show on Sirius XM.
Yep. See, Siri's always listening. So, call center transcription. Just think about sometimes when you call into, some business and hey, say one, say two,
Hmm.
say three. All speech recognition, right? So using it for accessibility tools, voice to text, real time translation, and smart speakers, right? And kind of going back to what I mentioned about, say, Google Translate. My Spanish is not the greatest. I'm often in some countries and I need translation, and so I'll leverage those services. And so that's really a part of speech recognition, which has been around for a long time. Transcribing, I know for our corporate people or people using Teams, I know my life has changed when I can turn on transcribe in Teams, and it's going to transcribe that meeting, highlight action items, and
Mm.
then now I don't have to take these singular notes. I normally just kind of review those and I can send those out. So just a couple of use cases for that. And it's often paired with natural language and understanding to derive meaning. But recognition has been huge and definitely has improved over the years because, we used to speaking to our phones and speaking to things. And you're like, I didn't just say that, but it's gotten so much better.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. You know, the example right here. I'm going on my phone right here. Hey, Gemini, how you doing today?
I opened the camera in video mode.
Oh, you did. Okay. Well,
Gemini ain't feeling you today.
it's okay. It's all right. But basically, the way I look at it, the user can just speak a command to, a Google Assistant, Gemini or whatever you're going to be using, right? ChatGPT. They all have this functionality, right? And the system will basically convert the spoken words into text that we can understand and act upon. It's just that simple. Okay. Now let's pivot to the why. Okay. Why are we talking about this? So, why is speech recognition important? Speech recognition technology is important because it allows humans to interact with computers and other devices using voice, making technology more accessible and efficient. We we talked about it allows for hands-free operation, faster transcription of spoken language. You talked on that, T, and it facilitates various applications like virtual assistants, automated customer service, and language learning. You covered all that earlier, but hey, this is here. It's happening right now, and I'm going to be honest with you, T. People aren't really utilizing it like they should. Comments before we go on to the next term?
No, I think, I think you've covered it well. No comments.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Now, the fourth term that everybody should know or at least be familiar with is a prompt. Okay. A prompt is any input, typically in the form of a text or other data that a user provides to an AI model to instruct it to generate a specific response or perform a task. It's the way users communicate with AI to guide the model's output. T, can you give us a simple example of a prompt?
Explain why AI is important to the future of business.
Bam,
Simple prompt, right? Or
bam.
hey, help me write an email outlining. Help me write an email outlining the importance of security standards in
Mm,
organization. Simply put, a prompt is just a way to ask a question or get information using natural language, right? So you think
bam.
about use cases, content generation. We hear about deep fakes and image creation and things of that nature. It starts with a summary, a description of what you want. And then that within that prompt, and then it interprets that as a task, and then does the thing, right? So tutoring, data extraction, in very simple terms, right? What do you want AI to do? You put it in a prompt, and then AI does the rest behind the scenes.
Mm.
And,
Ah,
and which I'm sure you will talk about this because I think you got another podcast to speak about this. But I think it's just with anything else, right? If you talk to a person and you ask a question, right? If your question is vague, I think the human's going to have a hard time really understanding where you're coming from. But the more specific your question is, it's easier for a human to understand. That's very similar to a prompt and a AI system, right? The more specific you are, the better results that you're going to get when you create those prompts.
Yes, agreed. And that's what you call prompt engineering, right?
Engineering, yeah.
Yeah, that's revising your prompt or your question to get a better output or a better answer by adding more context, adding more more body to your prompt. So, and I do have a video out there called how to learn things 5 times faster using AI prompts. Anything but faster using AI prompts. But that's another video. Just go ahead and check out the channel, and you can look it up. Now, let's go ahead and pivot on this why. All right, why are we talking about this? Why should you know this term? Why should you at least be familiar with it? Right.
Mhm.
Um, AI prompts are crucial, okay, for effective communication with AI models. They act as instructions, guiding the AI to generate accurate, relevant, and contextual appropriate responses. Basically, family, a prompt is a crucial instruction or cue, like starting on like a starting point or a direction that guides what we will call a response or action. It basically helps get the desired outcome, right? By providing a clear idea of what's expected. That's the reason why we need to learn this term and basically get better at writing prompts. And there's all types of different learning materials and classes and videos out there of how to engineer your prompt to get better outputs, better answers when you're communicating with these AI models. T, any comments before we move on to their next term?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it really prompts is one of the foundations of generative AI in general, right? If you want generative AI to create something, you have to provide a prompt. The better your
Mhm.
prompts, the more specific you are, the better outcomes that you're going to get from that prompt.
Amen. All right. Now let's go on. Let's move on to our fifth term, which is supervised learning that we should know or at least be familiar with. Now, supervised learning is a type of machine learning where algorithms are trained using labeled data sets to predict outcomes or recognize patterns. Basically, in simple terms, supervised learning is a type of machine learning where you teach a model by providing it with a set of examples, where each example has an input and the corresponding correct output. Now, T, can you give some, can you humanize this a little bit and just kind of give us examples of supervised learning?
Yeah, I think I got potentially a couple of examples that I can share that should be relatable to most people, right?
Mhm.
So when I think about um, spam email detection. So,
Mhm.
because I am in the security field and responsible for that type of technology, um, when you think about how do you reduce the number of spam emails coming to your environment, well, supervised learning is one of them, right? So you can train these models to say, here's a legitimate message, and then here's a message that is spam. So supervised learning really helps with spam detection in the emails, and Google, Yahoo, junk mail, spam mail folders. This is a technology that's being used behind the scenes. Another example of this is think about your loan approval systems, right? You go online, you fill out an application form. Sometimes you get the quick response, yep, you're approved. Sometimes you get the no, well, we'll contact you with more information. Well, it's leveraging the supervised learning, taking in various factors, right? Like, okay, what's your credit score,
How
what's your
much you make?
age, how much you make. All those factors are a part of that supervised learning. So you take those
Mhm.
data elements and it's doing some comparisons and identifying the risk. And so those are two examples of supervised learning and how, whether we know it or not, they're part of our daily lives, especially when you're shopping around for a loan or, whether you're personal email, corporate email, those types of technologies are working behind the scenes to help reduce the noise of spam mails in your inboxes. And some additional use cases, right? Image classifications, speech recognition. Oh, I didn't even talk about fraud detection, right? So again, what are your normal activities, your normal purchases, where you are, what you're doing, and is it something? Is there a broken pattern or anomaly to that? And again, that's example of sometimes you get the fraud notification text message, hey, this transaction, did you make this, hit yes or no? That's all a part of supervised learning what your normal patterns are, and then being able to identify when there's something anomalous to those patterns.
Hmm. Brother, you took all my examples, man. Yeah, it's almost like you don't want me to talk on this topic, brother. You took all mine.
Well,
Why you do that?
now you know how it feels because you do that to me 97% of the time. But again, like I said, this is a little bit near and dear to me because
Yeah,
this is this type of technology is really baked into a lot of security controls that
yeah,
I support
yeah.
and leverage every day to protect organizations.
Agreed. Now let's go ahead and pivot to the why. Hey, listen, why are we bringing this term up? Why should you know this term or just be familiar with this term? Okay. Uh, Supervised learning is important because it allows machines to learn from examples, much like a student learns from a teacher. Okay. By providing labeled data, input, and desired output, we train models to make accurate predictions on new, unseen data. This is crucial for tasks like what you mentioned earlier, T, image recognition, okay, spam filtering. You talked about that, and predicting future outcomes. Okay, this is the reason why we should know, or this why we should know this term, or at least be familiar with it. T, comments before we pivot on to our next one.
Well, you already said that and took everything all your examples. So I'm hoping that people has a good idea of what that is now, and how each and every day it's a part of our
Yeah.
normal lives,
All right.
and has been for some time.
Agreed. Now let's go ahead and pivot to our sixth term that uh, everybody should know if you're familiar, if you want to learn about AI or at least be familiar with it. It is unsupervised learning. Okay. Now, unsupervised learning is a type of machine learning where algorithms learn patterns and relationships with unlabeled data without explicit supervision or prior knowledge of these outcomes. Now, I want to preference this. Unlike supervised learning, okay, which uses labeled data to train models. Unsupervised learning,
Did you
right?
did you explain what labeled data is?
No, I did,
Okay,
but you can.
no,
Yeah,
I was
you
gonna leave it
can.
up to you.
Okay.
Okay.
So unsupervised learning aims to discover hidden structures and insights within the data itself. Okay. T, if you don't mind, can you provide us some examples of unsupervised learning?
Well, I think you kind of just gave an example, right? It's just kind of throwing large data sets and looking for various patterns and nuances or similarities within data.
Mhm.
One example of that, which almost everybody who's listening to us probably has a Netflix account, right? Just think about the movie recommendations that Netflix provides to you because Um, you've watched something in the past, you've liked something, so it's going to take some of that data and make some recommendations based on your previous behavior. Is one example. Anomaly detection, as well. I did, supervised has fraud detection, but also too, unsupervised can do it as well, right? Because if you just throw um, unlabeled data and it's looking for a different type of pattern, fraud detection goes into can go into that bucket as well. Also, too, when you think about lumping, how businesses try to lump customers together to do marketing campaigns, it's based off of, again, data sets. And I like to attribute this to sometimes, rewards programs, how they say they want to anonymize the data and all this stuff, where I think they're capturing these transactions, rewards, giving us like a penny for every $5,000 we spend, right? But they're taking that data and are able to do marketing campaigns against that. So those are some examples of that. Market research, again, anomaly detection, recommendation engines are all a part of it. And I think for me, the beauty about it, especially from a business context, think about all the man hours or the woman hours it would take to do this analyzation of data. With AI and unsupervised learning, this stuff can be done in a matter of moments. Just think about when you try to purchase something and then almost instantly the fraud detection is blocked. I mean, the transaction can be blocked and you get that text. That happens almost instantaneous. It's amazing. Now, a person could never do that. By the time they log on and see who you are and start looking at stuff, you're out the door. Versus AI can do it in a matter of moments. So, unsupervised learning, supervised learning, very very critical components of AI, and why there's such a big buzz about it in the business world, because it really helps um, automate and allow for quicker decision making based on various data sets.
Yeah. And again, I didn't get to explain this labeled data. Basically, it's just a special tag that we put on certain data that we train the data models on, uh, to specifically identify certain types of data that we want to highlight and train. That's all labeled data is. Now, uh, those were excellent examples, T. Let's go ahead and pivot to the uh, why we should learn or at least have some type of familiarity with the term of unsupervised learning. Um, Unsupervised learning is important because it allows computers to identify those patterns, right, and relationships in data without being explicitly told what to look for. Now, this is valuable for tasks like uncovering hidden insights in large databases, okay, identifying unusual patterns and creating recommendations for other systems. That's kind of giving you guys a context of why it's important to at least have some type of general understanding of unsupervised learning. T, any comments before we pivot on to our next term?
No, I think that nail has been hit and it's secure in its platform.
Bam. All right. Where's my hammer, brother? Where is my hammer when you need that hammer?
hmm
All right. Now, this is our last term, and this is actually T's. This is his term, man. He's going to go all in on this term. The last term that we're going to talk about that you should know or just have a general familiarity with is what's called a hallucination. Now, a hallucination in AI refers to when a model generates incorrect, misleading information, often presented with confidence as if it was true. This can happen in various AI systems, including language models like chatbots and image generation models. T, let's go in on these hallucinations. What you got to say?
Well, I mean, you just, reprimanded me for doing what you just did. You just gave the people some examples. So all I can really do is say the same thing over as you just said, maybe just a little bit more context, right?
Okay.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
at the end of the day, like you said, it's providing incorrect facts or figures and inventing references or sources repeating errors or misinformation from other sources or misinterpretation, of prompts. And I think this is part of what concerns me about AI and why I don't. I. It's funny. I had a conversation. I was at an AI event and I asked this question. I said, "Do you really feel like AI can replace human creativity, human innovation?" And it's interesting how some people say yes, some people say no. But this is what concerns me about these hallucinations is you can't always trust what AI provides. I know I know
Exactly.
everybody don't get me wrong, I'm not slamming AI. It's going to be right most of the time. But when you talk about replacing humans for AI, this is where I have pause because AI is only going to be as intelligent as what it's trained to be, right? So if it has insufficient training data or those biases in its training data, information may be incorrect, right? And so um, I do believe in leveraging AI, right? And even in for those who team users or any other thing, even when transcription happens, it always says, "Hey, we did this, but check it for errors," because it knows that the data may not have captured everything correct. I mean, the interpretation may not have been correct. So you always want to just verify the data that an AI gives you. Doesn't hurt. And I like what a lot of systems are doing is if it gives you some information, it'll tell you where it's pulling this information from. And so you can kind of verify the references. But, again, this is a human driven initiative, right? So AI is not going to be right all the time. And I think it's just important. And I'm glad that we included this in our terms because, yes, AI is great. It's going to be right a lot of the times. But to be 100% dependent on AI, I have some pause there because if it's human created, there's going to be human errors attached to it.
100% T. There's an old saying out here on these AI streets:
Uh oh.
trust, but verify
Verify.
when you're dealing with AI. And listen, I'm going to give everybody a little context. I train humans on AI essentials, right? However, on the back end, I'm actually training these models, and these hallucinations, man, they happen all the time. And we actually have people behind the scenes, and it's a wild and crazy world that we are making sure that we want to minimize these hallucinations. So that's where the human aspect comes in. We are verifying, making sure that, some of these prompts are giving us more accurate
Right.
outputs. And these language models, they have to be trained. If they're making mistakes, we got to call them out and make the appropriate correction. And that's what's happening behind the scenes in the operation side of these AI tools that we use every day. Now, T, let's go ahead and pivot on to why. Okay, we gave some context of why we should understand, or why we should understand the importance of AI hallucinations. Um, AI hallucinations can streamline data visualizations by exposing new connections and offering what I call an alternative perspective on complex information. So basically, T, in layman's terms, um, and what you already verified, the output, it may look complex, but it may not be right. And AI actually thinks it's right, but in actuality, it isn't. And if you're an expert in your field and you are getting an output and it's not matching with many years that you have spent on a subject matter, that's a hallucination that us human beings can call out that AI makes a mistake on. Comments?
Yeah, just again, I say it all the time to my staff: trust but verify. So,
Facts.
especially if you're leveraging AI to do papers or do presentations. You just want to validate that the data is accurate. And so I think if you do that, things will be fine. But just like anything else, right? Just a reminder, AI is not perfect. And again, all these conversations about AI is going to take over jobs. Yes, it will take over some of those lower level jobs. But again, creativity, innovation, I think we have a ways to go. But definitely an important term you need to know. And you need to understand that you can't just trust AI for everything it says. You still need to validate it. Just like sometimes you would from an individual. I don't believe anything lead Professor Q says. I have to verify it. Most of the time he's right. Most of the time he's right. But yeah, so just like we do it for people, we have to also do it for AI.
Brother, I thought you trusted me 100% with your life. I'm just kind of
Hey,
disappointed, but
what did I
it's
say?
okay.
I
Yeah.
trust you, but I got to verify it, though, brother.
Hey, listen.
But trusting you in my life is a little bit harder to verify. So I may have to
Facts.
lean more on trust in that area.
Facts. Let me ask you a question, T. Why is AI, not perfect?
Why is AI not perfect?
Mm-hmm.
Is this
Who created
this is
AI?
a trick question? Yeah, I mean humans created it, and
Are humans perfect?
I have yet to meet a perfect human.
There you go. Therefore, AI ain't perfect either because we
Right.
created it. Yeah. Enough
I
said,
know
right?
that's right. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to tell people. Hey, it's not perfect. It's created by humans, so it's definitely it's based off of human thinking, and we know
Yeah.
that ain't perfect.
Yeah, but sure enough, we ain't. No. But hey, listen, that's it for our turns. Now we're gonna go on to our favorite segment at the end of each show, in each podcast is what's going on in these AI
AI street.
streets. Okay. Now, let me go ahead and pull up an article. I'll share with you guys. Okay. We saw an interesting article today. When we were talking, it's about AI in sports, how the NFL is revolutionizing the game. This is by Enterprise AI Today by Verticent. And it's basically saying AI in sports transforms the NFL with over 500 million data points per season. Learn how AI is revolutionizing America's favorite game and shaping the future. So, of course, we're not going to go over all of this information that we have right here, but what I want to do is just kind of show you guys um, basically some stats right here. The game changing impact of AI in sports. AI in sports markets projected to reach a staggering $36 billion by 2033. This rapid growth is driven by the widespread adoption of AI technologies across major sports leagues, with the NFL leading the charge in implementing AI in sports. You see right here, we're at 2025. Listen, in less than 10 years, this is going up. Other major league sports following a suit. Basketball, the NBA uses AI in sports for player performance analysis and automated highlight generation. Baseball has embraced AI in sports for pitch analysis and defensive positioning. Soccer utilizes AI in sports for tactical analysis and video assistance referees, VAR technology. Hey, even tennis is employing AI's power systems like Hawkeye for ball tracking and automated line calling. Hey, basically in essence, T, what my takeaway from this article is, and the link to this article will be posted in the description of the YouTube podcast. But my main takeaway is that, hey, listen, the NFL, they are leading the way in leveraging this AI revolution. They're revolutionizing the game, processing 500 million data points per season. That's an astronomical amount, right? Uh, Through its partner with Amazon Web Services. Okay, AI enhances and analyzes, uh, player safety, officiating accuracy, fan engagement, and addressing challenges that is happening that's plagued the sports for years. T, comments, opinions. What do you think, man?
I think it's all about money, 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 money. But also I think player safety is a big part of it too.
Yes.
I think about when I think about the player safety stuff. So I don't even have my Apple Watch on, but the beautiful thing about this wearable tech now, right? You can wear wearable tech, and then it can count your heartbeats if you pass out or have some type of medical condition and make call 911 for you. It'll tell you if your blood pressure is high. So it just makes sense, and especially in the NFL, right? To as more players, and they've been doing this for a year, wearing that wearable tech to help monitor players' health, safety. Are they tired? What's their heartbeat at? If somebody gets injured, how fast were they going? Collecting all that data in context, again, right, from that supervised or unsupervised machine learning perspective, will help to make improvements to the game, which then impacts players' health and safety. So it is critical, and as we talked about, right, leveraging aspects of AI in the way it learns is much quicker, much faster to analyze that data and give you particular data points. I also think, again, too, from a gambling perspective, where I say the money. If
Woo-wee.
you can get all these stats and statistics in real time, again, unsupervised, taking these data points and saying, okay, who's going to make the first tackle? Or who's going to have a better game? Or how many yards is this person? If you can generate that ahead of time, that helps people place their bets and put these prop bets up. And I forgot this other term. I'm not a big better. These parlays, right? To have these parlays. Those parlays are driven off of this AI data. So
Amen.
100%, it's important for, I think, player safety and health, 100%. And I love what they're doing there, but also too, the other aspect of the article is for fan engagement, right? If you able to do this analysis and create these fun statistics of who's going to make the first tackle or who's going to score first and all of these things, who's going to, based on the defense of this team and what they've done in the past, you may not want to start this player in fantasy football because they're not going to sell. All of that is that AI driven data. So again, AI is not new. It's been around for a while. We talk about recommendation systems, and this is another form of that, right? So it's only going to improve and get better. And yes, it's going to create opportunities for me to bet and make decent money if I decide to do that. But ultimately, player and player health and safety is a very, very good use of this technology, and because of that, it's going to expand in all arenas of sports to help with, again, data points
Right.
and more development of either helmets or uniforms or playing conditions to reduce injuries to players.
Yeah, yeah, and the way I look at it, man, this AI basically enhances the fans' experiences, right?
Mhm.
On multiple ways. This providing real time stats, broadcasts, personalized content, right? NFL they're gonna love these AI predictive models, right? For you know, analyzing player stats, and even deeper is using AI to profile psychologically some of these players that they draft and determine some of the forecasts of their potential success. Now, however, we always say that we trust but verify, meaning that this is a model. Doesn't mean that it's going to be very accurate. AI gets it wrong, right? However, if there's a way that you can use these tools to give you a baseline or a benchmark to possibly do some of this analysis and to make it better, and then you can add the human innovation aspect to it. Hey, it's golden. But my main deal, T, is I saw that 36 billion dollars just in AI investment, right? You think we can get a piece of that? You think we can get a slice?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
All right, brother. Hey man.
I gotta.
Hey,
You what they say? You gotta believe it to achieve it. So yeah, we're gonna get some of that pie.
hey, and guess what? Check this out. Whoever's watching this, you guys can get some of that. You can't tell me you can't get some of that slice too. You know what I mean?
Oh
You
yeah,
can get some of it.
it's,
Uh,
it's enough for everybody.
it's enough for everybody, brother. Hey, T, you got any closing comments?
No, I think hopefully people got a better understanding of some of these terms.
Yeah.
Now, before we talked about it, Q and I we took away a term or two because we wanted to shorten it up. And I see this is going to turn out to be one of our longest sessions that we've had today. But that's a beautiful thing because that's the passion that we have, and we live this stuff on a daily basis. So it's easy to talk about. So hopefully everybody had an opportunity to learn something new today that can help improve. And make your lives a little bit more efficient going forward.
Well said, brother. Well said. Well, let's just go ahead and end on this note, okay? Um, we're talking about the NFL and all these professional sports, okay? Uh, let's end on this note. Uh, the winners aren't always the smartest, right? They're the ones who refuse to quit, okay? When everything basically went to hell. And ultimately, we don't refuse to quit. We keep on learning. I notice AI stuff for some of these terms, understanding the changes. It gets overwhelming and complex. Hey, just a little piece at a time. Let's keep learning and we all get better. But whatever you do, don't quit. And that's in anything in life. We're out.